Nomenclature means a system of naming a certain class of objects. There are millions upon millions of chemical compounds, so chemists use nomenclature systems to name many of these chemicals. If we consider the nomenclature system for ions, we must first know what a monoatomic ion is. A monoatomic ion is an ion that is formed from one atom that gains or loses electrons. Mono means one. Two examples of monoatomic ions include the ion formed from an oxygen atom that has a -2 charge, and the ion formed from a sodium atom, which has a +1 charge. Let's look at the monoatomic ions that are easier to name first. These are the anions, or negatively charged ions. Monoatomic anions are formed from nonmetals that gain electrons. The name of a monoatomic anion is determined by the elemental name and ends in the suffix "ide." We know that the halogens all form anions with a -1 charge. Capital F, or fluorine with a -1 charge, is known as fluoride. Capital C, lowercase l, or chlorine with a -1 charge, is known as chloride. Capital B, lowercase r, or bromine with a -1 charge, is known as bromide. And capital I, or iodine with a -1 charge, is known as iodide. The anions have one more electron than the atoms do and have completely different properties than the atoms. The nonmetals in the oxygen family form anions with a -2 charge. Capital O, or oxygen with a -2 charge, is known as oxide. Capital S, or sulfur with a -2 charge, is known as sulfide. Capital S, lowercase e, or selenium with a -2 charge, is known as selenide. These anions have two more electrons than the atoms and have completely different properties than the atoms do. Nitrogen and phosphorus can gain 3 electrons to form anions, but it is actually a challenge for these atoms to hold on to 3 extra electrons. So these anions are relatively reactive or unstable. Capital N, or nitrogen with a -3 charge, is known as nitride. Capital P, or phosphorus with a -3 charge, is known as phosphide. These anions have 3 more electrons than their respective atoms and have completely different properties than the atoms. Notice that all of the monoatomic anions end in the suffix "ide."